Okay. Don't have my usual recording setup, and I am horribly jet lagged, but I have that. Ciao from Venice. There's opera happening over there. I don't think it's live, but I'm not sure. Anyways, horribly jet lagged. This might be totally incomprehensible. I do not have notes. I apologize. For those of you who have no context what this is a response to a forum thread on Disc Golf Course Review. If you are curious, go look it up. Look up my name, Trebuchet, and today's date, and you will find what thread I was posting on. That's all I'll say. Talking about axis of rotation for modeling the throw. Me and Seabass have some very different ideas. I feel like I have come to understand the difference. There's some discrepancy, obviously. I think his model is correct. I think my model is correct. I think we have different time frames of what we're trying to model. He is modeling the throw as a whole, and so his axis is more vertical because it includes moving past the brace, as I believe you should. And my model doesn't include that. And the current steps of the progression that I have in the one leg drill stuff doesn't capture that yet. So I do think you should get there, but my content as it exists now does not deal with that. You should get there. I feel like it comes naturally out of what I'm teaching. That may not be true. I may need to add something. The later versions of the drill will include adapting that in, and honestly that's something I'm still working on in my throw, and I may very much still have some blind spots there. But as far as what me and Seabass see differently, he looks at the axis more vertically and going through the front foot, so everything is rotating on this front foot axis. That is the axis of rotation. The way that I'm modeling the throw is what gets power into the disc, which the way I'm trying to brace, more of the power comes from staying behind the brace and the hip torque that happens because this hip is mostly not moving. And again, I think there is a certain amount of blind spot built in there, but it's focusing on the part of power in bracing that I see most people missing from the people that I've worked with. That really sounds like it's live. That's cool. So my model, I'm not an authority on Seabass's. I'm not sure that I understand it correctly, but that's the gist that I get. My model is it's very much not a throwing in space thing like Seabass suggested. There is a route to the ground, which is that foot. The front leg is static. Someone on the forum post said that you can't balance on a locked knee. Respectfully, I disagree because I'm doing it. My knee is locked, I am not falling over, therefore balanced on a locked knee. I think he probably meant in a dynamic movement, but you can do that too. Like I'm in balance for an instant on a locked knee. It is difficult, it is very challenging. Most people shouldn't do it. Sebastian Fimi does it. He throws 600 feet, pretty easy. I've seen that. Drew Gibson does it. He throws, I don't know, more than 500, pretty easy. So it is possible. It's very difficult. Not a thing most people should try. Those are both elite level athletes. I am not. I don't think I should get to a locked front knee. I would like to, but not important. You don't need to lock the knee. That just works for some people who are very fit. Anyways, my model on a locked front knee for now, that's a placeholder. The axis of rotation is head to foot in what I'm modeling. So if my front hip socket does not move and I lift this hip up and then I drop this hip with gravity, that there is an axis of rotation there that is mostly my head to my foot. And given that this hip socket is not moving, that hip socket is the hinge that is the axis of rotation. Like, I don't really see how that's up for debate. If I do this, there is an axis that is mostly my spine. Well, it's not my spine. It's an axis formed by this hip socket. Where the axis becomes your spine is if you allow the front foot to give, and then, so the front foot gives while you're dropping down, and then it fires up such that the power source is not entirely the rear hip dropping down, but it's also the front hip pistoning up. So then you get pull from gravity on this hip. This hip is going down, and you get a push against gravity from this hip. That creates torque, which is essentially centered on the spine. So that's my model. And because that's what I feel like people are missing. When people barn door, when they plant open and barn door like this and have an entirely vertical axis, they miss the power that comes from the hip torque here. And this front hip poking out is not a thing that happens in a full throw. So this range of motion is fake in a way, because if I'm bracing dynamically, this leg is going to be out here, and that poked out front hip doesn't happen. So this gets you into some balance issues, as Brycanis pointed out. I say that name right? I don't know. I read it all the time, but I don't say it. So that's kind of one of the traps of the method that I'm proposing. Yeah. So I don't think that isn't a finished thing. And it's up for debate if that is a thing you should spend time on, or if you should just get the idea of it and then stop doing it and move to a more dynamic movement where you're in a more realistic, more supported front hip position. But a sillier way to model what I'm suggesting is if you take a flagpole and you take a stick and you tie a rope to the stick and twist it around the stick, and then you let the stick roll down the flagpole. This is the axis of rotation, is the stick, and it's like, you can't say that the flagpole is the axis of rotation because the flagpole isn't rotating. So where blending my model with Seabass's model becomes useful is in the transition out of the time window that I'm talking about, which is before the hit, and to the time frame that he's talking about, which is everything. So when I do my model, and if I go to this extreme spike hyzer position and I open my hip and then I drop, like in my drills, you're just supposed to stop. Make sure I don't hit my hand. You're just supposed to stop in balance here. And you're not supposed to be tipping over backwards. You're supposed to stop in balance. That's a static environment where the only force is vertical from gravity. As soon as you add a weight shift to that, what happens is you get a bounce off of this position that I'm talking about and a swing through on more of the axis Seabass is talking about. So I think we're both right, but we're modeling a different time frame. That said, I do think my current material misses or is lacking in awareness of the follow through. Like, it's in my head, but I haven't talked about it yet. I guess I have a little bit, that I feel like you should bounce off of containment and then rotate forward. Like, I've demoed the drill before on my channel where if I don't use my off arm to anchor and stabilize, if I just pin my off arm here and then I throw, I get that kind of over rotation. I think that is good in a full throw, but what I'm trying to get people to do is just feel how much of that containment they can get here and feel how much more momentum from their body they can redirect through the brace and harvest into the whipping throwing arm. So my drill progression is a stepping stone to tune up your brace, and then you should go back to a Seabass model of a vertical axis of rotation. But I don't, the way that I've taught and the way that I've learned myself, I thought that it wasn't important to be aware of that follow through. But now, having gone through this, I feel like I did get a little too stuck behind my brace, too stuck in the idea of complete containment behind the brace, and you shouldn't have that. Because you see guys like KK, whose name I will not even try to pronounce because I'm American, I apologize, and people like Blitz, and there's Nick Crush also throws with a very passing through the brace motion, and those guys all throw way farther than me. So I think that is a more athletic way to throw, and I hesitate to say a more correct way to throw, but it's easier to achieve than what I'm suggesting. But I have felt the amount of power you can get and the amount of force you can get into the disc that comes directly from ground resist force, that I know there's something there, and I'm just trying to get people to understand that idea fully. And then I think you should choose your own adventure as to how much containment you actually want. And 100% containment is the wrong answer. Like, I know that. I'm not advocating for 100% containment. I think that's not the safest thing in the world for your front leg, and it's not the best thing for making the disc go far either. So, hope that was helpful. There's a little bit of my thoughts. Go check out the forum if you want to. Thank you very much. Enjoy the view.